As quilters, we love color, and that's probably what has drawn most of us into this wonderful fiber art, are all the fabrics and the beautiful prints that we can add into our quilts and put together and create a gorgeous design. And we keep buying more, and we're not quite sure sometimes how to combine them all together into one quilt. And it can be done, and I'm going to give you some ideas and some tips on how to do that yourself. I'm Leah Louise from Inspired Quilting by Leah Louise, and I am anxious to show you this. We've talked a little bit about it before, but we're going to go into it just a bit more using some charm squares, and I think you're going to love it. You've probably walked into a room and thought, oh, how perfectly furnished this room is, or seen a dining room table filled with colorful foods and go, wow, that's really attractive. Well, the difference there is the design. It's a plan. Somebody put a plan together to make it look that way, and we're going to do that with our quilt. I love using lots of colors. I don't want to call it a scrap quilt. I want it to be a beautiful quilt that looks like I put together exactly the colors I wanted where I wanted. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm anxious to show you how to do this. And remember, please subscribe. And if you love the video, give me a thumbs up. I'd love to share this with everybody and let others know how much fun we're having quilting. So let's get started. I'm ready to quilt. Here's our new quilting adventure with charm squares. It's a little bit like quilting with color. So instead of worrying about the pattern, if we use all charm squares, then we're going to be kind of filling in our blocks with color, which is kind of fun. So it's a different perspective to take on this. We're going to make a 9 patch out of charm squares, and we are going to make 12 9 patch blocks. And each one will finish at 13.5 inches. Now within the blocks, I'm going to have a multitude of colors. I'm also going to have some low volume fabrics. Now what I did is I went through my stash of 5-inch pre-cut squares that I already had. Most of these are batiks. They're not all batiks, but predominantly batiks, and my low volumes. Now a lot of these new ones that I have, I absolutely love. Let me show you some of these. And there's a shop on Etsy.com called Beyond the Reef, and I love their batik. So if you're looking for some fun batiks, that's a good place to check. I'll include that link below if you're interested. But what I want to do is show you how to layer this. If you remember in the last one that we did, and y'all really enjoyed that, I'm excited. Thank you so much for watching it. We layered full squares, full 15-inch squares, and then we cut them into 5-inch squares. What we're going to do different this time is we're going to group our colors into piles of 9, and each of those 9 are going to create a layer. So let me go ahead and group these, and I'll show you what I mean and how we're going to do that. But just take a look at these wonderful colors. Oh, this is going to be so fun. So let me get started, and I'll be back in just a minute. So let me explain what I've done here. Remember, we're making a 9 patch, and we're making 12 of them. So that means I need 12 different layers of fabric to make my 9 patch. And so what I'm going to do is I've created 12 bundles that each have 9 different charm squares. I'm duplicating any fabrics within the same pile. So I want any of these that I'm going to have duplicates of within each pile of 9. And then I'm going to lay out my 9 patch, and then I'm going to show you how we do the switch. The switch is what makes this really interesting. So let's go ahead and let's see. I'm going to go a blue, sort of an orange, and a green, and a dark blue, and let's throw a pink in there, and a light blue, a yellow, turquoise, and greens. All right, and then we need to mix in our low volumes. And I divided them into 4 piles because I want 4 different layers of fabric to get my 36 5-inch squares of the low volume. And in order to do that, I had to divide them up. I don't have a lot of duplicates. There's a pair of a few of them. What I have done is group them together into similar colorways. Like this has more of a creamy color. These have more geometrics. This is colorful, and these sort of have faded colors. So just for whatever purpose works for you, or however you look to divide your fabric up, that's just the way to go. So we're going to start our first 9 patch, and this is not what it's going to look like finished. So we're just going to take 3 across like this, and because it was easy, I used 3s, and you don't have to. Each of these can be a different fabric, and once you see the next step, you'll understand where we're going, and you can be a whole lot more flexible. I just thought this would be kind of a fun thing to do. All right, and then let's go ahead and put in one of our low volumes. So I have 9. Now notice every pair has 9, and I think I'm going to go a little bit this way, and then put these down here, and that one up there. You know, and you can switch them around like this or not. It really doesn't matter. It's just, it's all going to be whatever it's going to be in the end. Oh, there you go. That's right. That was, I have some odd ones that are some singles that I just tucked in there. So now we'll put in our blues, and let's put these this way. And I've never done this before. We're just sort of winging this along, but it looks like it'll be wonderful, and in theory, this should work out beautifully. And so we're going to prove that theory and see just how this will look when it's finished. Let's see, I have 1 layer, so I'll go 1 more layer, and then I will, let's go this crisscross, and then I'll add a low volume. And let's see, we'll kind of do this here and here. And, oh, I have tried to use this fabric so many different times. This is like my goldfish. It makes me think of goldfish, you know, all the little fish in there on the batiks with the purple. It's just kind of a crazy fabric. I'm never quite sure how to use it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put in a low volume. And this, I think, will, let's kind of do this. Do something like this. And kind of go this way. And this one. And I just love my dandelions. I know they're not a batik, but you know what? They're just darn fun. All right. Oops. This one and this one. I'm going to say something didn't look right there. And these dandelions, you have to be careful because it's kind of hard to tell the right from wrong. All right. So now let's go ahead and do another group. These will be some light blues. And some of these are a little on the low volume side. They could go either way because they're the white backgrounds like a lot of these. But I think this is just going to add a lot of good interest. And as we mix these all up with our switch process, I think you'll really be surprised at what you'll end up with. And it's a lot of fun. I think this is going to be kind of a surprise. Now, see, I didn't have 3 pinks, but I found some different pinks, fuchsias. Whoops, that one's kind of folded over. That can, you know, be a pink, and that works out great. So now let's go ahead and put in another low volume. And these are all random. So a lot of these are single. So let's go ahead and put these in this way, this way. Uh-oh, I'm missing a couple. Let me see how many I have here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay, you know what? I didn't use any of these little pink hearts. Let's throw that in here. So I was only missing 1. That's not bad. And I don't think I duplicated. All right, so we're good there. Now we're going to go with a darker blue here. And let's go this way. Put that one there. And some wild purple. And then we've got some blues here. So each square. Each layer will only have one square show up in any given block. So where you put these is not important, but the way you layer these, which is why I'm doing them like I did a green and then I did a low volume. I did a blue and a yellow and a low volume. The lights, the pinks, a low volume. Now blues and purples and then this green, and then I'll do a low volume. And so that way, as we are selecting fabrics, and after we have our mix done, oh, we have 4 of those. Okay, that works in the corners. And let's do this. Let's just put this one up here so they don't always fall in the corner. And as we pick them up, they're going to be switched around, and that's what makes this so fun. All right, let's do this one now. So we have 1, 2, watch, I'll probably find that extra one that I was missing, but that's okay. There is no right or wrong, and it's just a matter of choosing the fabrics that you like and putting them together. See, what did I say? I was going to find the extra one here, and there it is. All right, now let's go with, that last one was blue and green, so we'll go with this wild orange. That'll keep life very interesting. And this guy here, let's switch these two up just to keep things from getting too boring. All right, now as you recall in the last quilt that we did, which was the black and white with the Cape Facet peonies, we got to this point, but we used all 15-inch squares. So in this case, what we're doing is we are using 5-inch squares. Instead of taking that extra step and cutting them, I want to show you how to make that same quilt by using the pre-cut 5-inch squares. And it probably takes a little more time laying out your fabric, but you're going to, spend your time doing one thing or another, sorting the fabric and putting it out, or cutting the fabric. So either way, it depends on where you are. If you have all kinds of yardage and fat quarters and you want to cut your charms, go ahead and do it. Go the original way, where I did it with the 15-inch block, which is the last video. If you have a lot of random charm squares, or you have some charm packs you want to use, then do it this way. Either way, you're going to come out with a great quilt. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, if you remember, we have 9 blocks here, and each block has 12 different layers. So what we're going to want to do is switch these up. Now, we're only going to get 9 switches, but we want to probably double some up along the way. So what I'm going to do is, well, we'll leave the first one there. Actually, no, because we have the extras. Let's go ahead and take the first one down. So there's 1, and we're going to take 2 and put this down. So this first layer is going to be what this block is going to look like. Take out 1, 2, 3. And let's go this way. Last time we went zigzag, and we're going to go a little different. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you know what? I'm going to make this one a 6, because I want to make sure these get mixed up well. So now we'll go to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I'm going to make this one a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then make this one a 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we'll make this one 12. I think actually 11, because we don't want to take 12 off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, we can go 12. That worked out good. All right, so I probably miscounted. But what we do, the idea is to offset each of these so that none of your color layers are duplicated in a block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a block from this layer. I'm going to chain stitch. I'll put these two together. So, just chain stitch down, chain stitch, open those out, and then do the same with these. And that's your first block. Now, I do chain stitch all of these together first. Then I'll cut them apart and press them. Sometimes I just find it a little easier to get the pressing done while things are small instead of getting it too big and bulky. But that's your call. You can also finger press it. I just prefer sometimes to press it before I put the final assembly together in order to nest the seams. So these pairs will all be sewn. Then I'll cut them apart and I'll add the third one. So now I have a 9 patch and they're all chain stitched together. And I will go through and cut them apart where the 9 patch ends. So each 9 patch is cut individually. And then I will come back and do these seams across the middle and put everything together so we have our final block. I know that's a lot of information, but the visual is going to make it much easier. I just want to explain it so you have an idea of what I'm doing. So let me go ahead and get started sewing on these, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. It's going to be so much fun. I'm really going to love this. The colors are fabulous. And here's my first finished quilt block. It looks great. The colors are spaced out nicely, and there's some low volume. There's some bright blues. The blues are sort of the dominant. There's some accent colors in here, and it looks great. And the wonderful part is the way that we put this together and switched around our layers, that every block is going to have a multitude of colors placed in different locations throughout the 9 patch, so that when we put these blocks together in the quilt, we're not going to have a lot of pieces adjacent to each other. And you see that I sewed these 3 rows together first. I pressed them so that the seams are opposing so I can nest them. I did set these seams, but I don't press them until after the fact because I don't know just where it's going to go in the quilt. Will it go this way or this way? And it's just easier to sew that seam and nest it as I'm going so it'll all be going in the correct direction. Now what I want to show you is how wonderful these blocks come together. So I have the quilts here. I don't know if you noticed, but in the beginning when I told you we needed 12 piles, I had 13. And then remember when I was switching them up and I said, oh, I think I have extra, I miscounted. No, I counted right. I just didn't count correct from the beginning. I had 13, so I ended up with an extra block. So this will be great for the backing. I just thought that was pretty funny because I didn't catch it along the way, despite it being right in front of me. So when you put this together, you don't really see a specific 9 patch. And that's what's wonderful about this. Because a lot of times when you do a patchwork quilt, the block that you use to construct the quilt, in this case the 9 patch, becomes a repetitive pattern throughout the quilt. And that's fine if that's what the pattern is that you want. But in this case, I want all the blocks to be sporadically placed throughout the quilt and not have a finite layout that there's always a blue here, there's always a pink here, etc. So this is a wonderful way to mix up your quilt, especially with lots of colors. Again, you get balance because the colors are spread out evenly throughout each of the blocks. You don't get repetition because the same blocks are not going to be next to each other. I should say the same colors are not going to be next to each other because they don't repeat in the same spot. And by adding some low volumes, it gives a little bit of area where our eyes can rest between all that's going on. But this looks wonderful and it goes together so easily. And see how all this just lays out beautifully. And some places you'll have a group of color and others it'll be lighter. And over here, let's see what it's looking like in this corner. There's some darker colors and we have a couple greens. So there's just a wonderful selection of fabrics just mixed in everywhere, and they go together so beautifully. And what I like especially about the 9 patch, the reason I started doing this to begin with, is putting a Charm Square quilt together is quick and it's easy. But I found that if I was just using charm squares one at a time and piecing them into a quilt, like say maybe, what is it? So we have 80, so say 9 by 9, and I sew 9 charms together, and I'm chain piecing, and then I have to do 9 rows in order to get a quilt top. That's all well and good, but you know, they're small squares, they tend to twist, and it's easy to get them a bit mixed up, and I find that putting them into a 9 patch makes it far more manageable. I only have 12 blocks to deal with instead of 81, and that just works wonderfully for me. But oh my goodness, look at these wonderful colors, how beautiful that looks all together. So I hope you enjoyed this quilt, and I hope you're going to do one yourself. This is something you can make today. You can go into your fabric box, into your stash, into your scrap pile, whatever it is that you have. Cut some squares. They don't have to be 5 inches. Go with any square that works. So you can do these with 2.5 inches, and how great would that be? You'd be making a lot more of these blocks, but they'd be smaller and it would be fun. Or, oh, how fun would it be to alternate? You could have a 9 patch with the large ones and then have some small ones grouped together. That could be pretty too. So the possibilities are endless. It's whatever your imagination comes up with. So get inspired, come up with a great pattern that you're excited with, and make a gorgeous quilt. I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you for letting me share this with you. And if you like it, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you join me for more videos. You have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here.